Hello friends, wishing you a very happy and a prosperous 2024. Today we are here to unwrap what's happening in the Indian alternative industry, which is a vital force in the financial landscape. Joining me today to discuss the outlook for 2024 is Hemant Daga, CEO of Neo Asset Management, and Puneet Jain, CIO at Neo Asset Management. Gentlemen, wishing you both a very, very happy new year. Hemant, let me start with you firstly. How is 2023 shaped up, and what, according to you, keeping in mind the current Indian macroeconomic conditions, will shape up for 2024?
Thank you, Devina, and wishing all clients, friends, partners a very happy and healthy 2024. How was the year 2023 private credit? We at Neo had never have been more excited. I think the market is coming of age. Overall, the demand has always been good. India is never a demand problem, Markets demand annually 60 to 70,000 crores of credit. More players are entering, more domestic capital is entering, and that's always a healthy sign. The other thing that we are also seeing is, apart from the breadth of the transactions, is the depth of the transactions. India has witnessed several transactions northwards of 3,000 crores, and this is something that we've seen for the first time in our careers, and that's very healthy when you get breadth and depth in the market. Outlook for 2024, interesting question at the beginning of the year, but let me put a more contextual perspective to this. When we at Neo analyze credit markets, there are fundamentally three factors that we look at a macro level. The first is, how is the GDP doing? It should be stable growth, not very volatile. Second is, how is asset inflation? Is there asset inflation in the economy? Because that helps our borrowers, right? And the third is, how leveraged or deleveraged corporate balance sheets are, because that's finally the financial health of the system. So now if you look at this, you look at these three parameters, 2012 to 2018, India was a relatively muted GDP growth, asset inflation was benign, and corporate balance sheets were leveraged. Not the best of times for credit, and which is why what we witnessed, 2012 to 2018 was probably a lost decade for credit in the country. But now when we stand in 2023, 24 and beyond for the next several years, we truly believe GDP growth is stable, asset inflation is back, which is good, and thirdly, corporates are deleveraged. So all the three macro variables are now tying in, which makes us very confident for credit as an asset class for 24 and maybe even beyond it.
Alright, that's the market in general, Puneet. But you are the guy who's watching all of these deals very, very closely. What is the trend that you're picking up, and what kind of deals are we seeing?
We are seeing deals across three categories. Number one is refinancing. Number two is growth. Number three is sponsor financing. And we are seeing deals across all three categories, and we are seeing plenty of deals. In fact, we would have analyzed close to 200 deals over the course of last 12-15 months, and this is the largest number of deals I would say I have seen in my career in such a short period of time.
Let's talk a little bit more also about your exit strategies and how the exuberance in the equity markets are going to be impacting exit strategies particularly.
So what I will discuss about in this case is that the kind of deals which are seen the most in the market. What we are seeing most in the market is combination of number one and number two. I spoke initially, which means that we are seeing a combination of financing and growth. So it also tallies with the growth cycle India is having at this point of time, as well as promoter alignment. Promoters want to clean up their balance sheet, and therefore refinancing comes in. Promoter wants to raise money for growth, and that is where the alignment comes in, because through growth they create value, and because we are funding for growth, there is tremendous amount of promoter alignment.
Alright, let's just move from private credit now to real assets, which is again a very important element in the alternative industry. What are you seeing within this space, and particularly if you were to give some color on infrastructure, which is now catching eyeballs of investors?
Actually, Devina, if you look at infrastructure has always been an important element of the India growth story. Whether we want to be a $5 trillion economy, $7 trillion economy, we do need infrastructure. The good thing is government spending has gone up. In the last 3 years, and this is a staggering statistic, the government has spent close to 13 to 14 lakh crores in the last 3 years. That is more than what the government has spent cumulatively in the last 10 years. Now, so much spending has happened. The government has expanded its balance sheet. Developers have expanded their balance sheets in doing this spending. Now, eventually, these people also need to deleverage. They need to convert their assets, sell it to someone, and go and build new assets, because India needs to continuously build infrastructure, and which is where asset managers will play a very important role. So we will be the funnel where the original creators of asset will now move to asset managers who will house it for a long period of time. So the environment is good. We think a lot of monetization of assets will happen. Pipeline is very healthy. In fact, we at NEO, we were analyzing data. There are more than 200 annuity projects coming up for sale in the next 3 years. There are more than 200 toll projects coming up for sale in the next 3 to 4 years. That's 400 individual small projects. And that's a lot of supply to be happy about.
That is a lot of supply, but where is that kind of money going to come from to sponsor these assets or to buy these assets, to privatize, so to speak, government assets?
I think this is an important question. I think the government has a plan. We as asset managers will also play an important role. The government has an ambitious monetization plan. It is selling assets through the National Monetization Plan. The most beautiful thing that has happened to infrastructure and other real assets in the country is we've got these listed InvITs and REITs. Effectively, we've converted a long-term asset into a liquid asset which investors can buy and sell any point of time. So there is the National Monetization Plan which will fund. There are these InvITs which will fund. And third, as asset managers, we will educate investors. This is a great time to buy these assets. This is our Indian assets which require Indian money.
Okay, so good going for infrastructure and real assets, but something that has been doing well, likely to do well in the future as well, Puneet, equities?
So Devina, this is a very important question. I think from equities, let us look at key variables. First is valuations, second is earnings growth, and third is any key events lined up in the near future. I think from a valuations perspective, we are currently at fair valuations. We are at close to 20x forward multiples, which is close to long-term averages, and investors cannot make money because of valuation re-rating. So to that extent, earnings growth becomes very important. Currently, GDP growth rate is good, and hopefully earnings will grow at a good pace, and investors can make money based on earnings growth. And the third is political uncertainty. India faces elections this year, so to that extent, the first half possibly will be slightly more volatile. Second half will be more certain. So the key parameters to watch out for equities is earnings growth and what happens in elections in April, May this year.
And a key monitorable is also interest rates here. So let me just talk about the outlook that the US government has given. They've said 3 rate cuts in the coming year. Are we decoupled from that, or will we map them accordingly? Where do you think interest rates stack up?
I think fortunately what has happened in the last 2-3 years, I think India macros have started to stand out. Honestly, our view is of a very range-bound market on rates with a slightly softish bias. But we don't see rates moving significantly either direction. We are very decoupled from the world. Our macros, and Puneet and me, we keep chatting, are very, very stable macros. And this is probably the most stable set of macros we have seen in the longest period of time. So happy investing in 2024 is what I would say.
Thanks a lot, Hemant and Puneet. But I think the moot point here, the takeaway here, is this is not just about 2024. I think at NEO, our idea is to be able to provide, the structural landscape for investing to all our investors. So, leaving you with that, thank you very much for that.